Welcome to episode 30 of Venti Questions, the show with friends, coffee, and conversation. My name's Michael.
And I'm Chris. And today we're exploring the fascinating, ever-changing world of social media, Michael.
Ever-changing? Whatever do you mean, Christopher?
It always changes.
Oh my gosh.
Forever. From Facebook and Instagram to TikTok and Twitter, social media platforms have become an integral part of our daily lives.
Unless you're like us, who never actually use them.
This is true, like we should.
Oops.
It transforms the way we communicate, consume information, and connect with others.
Actually, that's actually fair.
Yeah, it's true. In this episode, we'll discuss the pros and cons of social media and its impact on mental health and the way it's shaping our culture and society.
Surprisingly, it really is changing and affecting those things a lot. But, listen all the way to the end to get our opinions upon the situation.
So, Michael, what's new with you?
Okay, so I got a little bit of a fun thing. I think it was last week, or maybe the week before that, but I mentioned that the Blood Bowl 3 game was coming out.
Sure.
And it came out.
Okay.
And surprisingly, I've actually been able to play like 2 or 3 games.
And how were those games?
They were marvelous. Thank you for asking. Haha. No, they were pretty good. Like the graphics are pretty decent. The only issue is that, remember how we were talking about how like the microtransactions were going to be the make or break of the whole situation?
Yeah.
They are so greedy.
Greedy.
Yeah, a company, shocker. No, so they're at like EA levels of greedy. So the way that this works out is when you the whole like marketing campaign with this particular game has been like you can customize every one of your players so that they look completely unique from anyone else, right? And in a sense you can, because you can do each like shoulder, each hand, chest, I think, and then legs and head, right?
Okay.
But you have to pay for each one of those little individual spots.
Paying for head's tough. Yeah.
Funny. For each character. So let's say you unlock like the fist hand.
Sure.
If I unlock it for my character and then I want to use my other character, I have to unlock it again.
That's stupid.
Yes. And it costs real life money.
Wow. So how much are you in the hole is what I want to know.
None. So I'm not going to, here's the thing. It's already being like protested pretty heavily by the community. So besides that, the other downside is that the first season isn't going to take place for another 3 months. They're doing the first season as a preseason, which is clever.
It's a lot of finger quotes.
But wasn't told to us until the first day it was released.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was pretty upset about that, but we'll see how it goes.
How big is the community?
I'd say like under 50,000 people.
Okay.
So it is a niche game, I'm not going to lie, but I think that actually gives us more power than if it was like 2 million people play. Because if 2 million people play, you're not going to get all 2 million to agree on something.
Yeah.
You might be able to get all 40,000 to agree on something, though. So,
okay.
Especially if you piss them off by messing up their nerdy game.
Yeah.
Because when you're dealing with these types of people, you're dealing with like uber freaking nerds.
Yeah, I know.
And
dealing with one.
Ha ha ha. You're so funny. Anyway, but yeah, no, so I got to play it. It's pretty good. A lot of people have been complaining about other issues that I haven't had any problems with, like technical issues and whatnot, but it's all been pretty legitimate for me. It's just the issue of the customization, which I was really looking forward to. One, you have to pay for each individual thing, which is kind of annoying. Two, right now at least, they don't have that much.
Yeah, of course.
So like they have like the basic like character, and then there's 2 like mods for each one of the parts. There's 4 different like positions on the Skaven team. So there's 4 different models, and then you can mod each one of the little things.
Okay.
So it's like, it's not really that much. Obviously that's the whole point of the blood passes every 3 months, is that you unlock those kind of things. But my thing is like, okay, but you unlock it. Are we going to be unlocking like, hey, you've unlocked this head to be able to use one time? If that's the case, it's like, oh, thanks.
Right.
Because the whole point of the game is you make a team, you get it to a certain level, and you're like, oh, cool, that was really fun. Then you make a new team.
Right.
And you delete it.
Okay.
Well, now if you're deleting it, you'd be like throwing away money.
Got it.
And then there's other teams where part of the strategy is if the character gets too high of a level, you sell him off and get another lower level character because it's actually better for like the meta and everything like that. So it's like, well, then why would you ever customize anything on those types of teams?
Yeah. Okay.
So it really is a little like confusing. I don't think it's going to end up being that way forever. So that's why I'm kind of holding off.
So you're going to hold out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. While you're thinking about what's new with you, hand me my iPad.
Would you like your iPad?
I would like my iPad, please. I'm sorry. I would really like my nondescript tablet. That is definitely not by an actual brand. Ha 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 ha.
Would you like your fruit tablet?
Thank you. I got my pears. So what have you been up to?
Nothing too much. Maybe 2 things I'll mention. I one of them you very much know about. I want to get the actual information up here, but I found a cool album that I shared with you.
Oh, yeah, that was actually pretty legit.
And it's called The Most Magical Album on Earth. And it's by Peyton Parrish. And it is basically a rock version of a lot of the popular Disney songs from the Disney movies. And it's done pretty well. Like the production is good. The music is rock music, if you like that kind of thing. And it's like become more like metal, like hard rock. Some of it, then it transitions to like ballads and more of like the just, I guess, regular rock.
It's there's some that are metal, and there's also some that's like hair.
Like hair band, like power ballad type.
Power ballads. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. Cover art's like a Viking guy who jumped out of off a castle onto concrete, and it's flying up. And there's he's got a guitar and a
literal axe. Yeah. It definitely, like I said, or like he said, it is pretty cool. There's a couple of tracks that the arrangement on it is really, really well done, and it fits almost better than the original. And then there's a couple of ones where it's like, but overall, I'd say I've listened to maybe like 4. I think there's like 4 tracks left I haven't listened to.
Sure.
And I think that I only disliked like 1, and it was still good. It just, I didn't care for it.
Right. It wasn't the arrangement that you liked.
Right. And in fairness, I also just don't care for that song.
Yeah, that's true.
It was the Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas. I've just never liked that song.
Right. Or the movie.
No, I don't like that movie. Flick's cool.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Good little raccoon.
Yeah, I like raccoons.
Yep. The other thing I'll mention is my kids were going through some stuff, and I gave my daughter at one point in time a Rubik's Cube to mess around with and play with. And then, so she was, I guess they dug it out. I saw my son walking around the house with it. So I picked it up and I started messing with it again. And then I'm like, wow, this thing is such a hunk of junk because it's the standard regular Rubik's Cube.
Right.
Which they're chunky and plastic and they don't really spin well and they don't align right.
Yeah. So
I'm like, well, I'm going to go look at like a speed cube or something a little bit better. And I went on Amazon and did that. And I found ones like a magnetic one where it will just switch over faster and you can cut corners and do all the fun, cool little tricks and stuff. So I picked up one of those and it's like the original fidget toy, I guess.
Yeah.
And honestly, and it gets your brain going, pattern memorization, algorithms, And I love it. I'll just solve it like over and over again and mix it up and solve it. I'll hand it to my kids. They'll mix it up. And then they come back to me, and then I go ahead and solve it and give it to them. It's kind of fun. So.
Have you ever seen the little like robot thing that mixes it up?
Yeah, it's like $80.
That's actually way cheaper than I thought you were gonna say. I figured it'd be like $800.
No, it's like $80. And I was gonna get it because I want it to be really mixed so I can, have a
really mess with it.
Because when you're mixing it yourself, you have your own kind of figure pattern and routines, and rhythms, I guess you can say, and you're trying to you kind of have a natural tendency to do the same thing. So I try to make it as difficult as I can when I mix it. That's why I give it to my kids. They always mess everything up. Funny enough, my daughter messed it up. She mixed it, but then she somehow, the one I have is I believe it's called the GAN cube. And she turned one of the pieces by accident. So it literally became unsolvable. So I was trying to solve it and try, go through it. And I kept this one corner piece just would not work. I'm like, what is going on here? And then I realized what she must have done. She went to like move it and she just turned it too quick. And one of them just kind of spun and in place, I think. And then I just literally spun it and flipped it around, and then I was able to solve it easily.
Gosh,
I mean, you can only do it with certain pieces, but it's interesting. But yeah, so I was getting into that again and kind of relived kind of those days where I'm like, I really want to learn how to solve this.
Right.
Side note, where I first saw that and I was impressed with it and thought it was super cool was where? Can you guess?
Gosh.
I'm going to say it and it's going to hit you.
Yeah, you are going to. What is it?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When he goes into the dean's office the first day.
Yeah.
And it's sitting there and he's been the guy's messing with it or whatever. And then he's, can you figure out how to solve this thing? And then like as he's walking out, you mind? And he picks it up and he kind of looks at him and he boom, and he puts it down. And then he walks out basically. And he's like, oh.
Yeah.
All impressed. I'm like, I thought that was the coolest moment growing up. I'm like, he showed this smart adult that he could do it, kind of thing. And
I feel like there was always a stigma that was inaccurate as we got older, which is you have to be really smart to be able to figure out a Rubik's Cube. And in reality, no, you just have to memorize a particular set of motions.
A set of motions, and you have to know how to move the pieces around. So yeah, you memorize an algorithm, and depending on where certain pieces are in the cube, have to know which one to use in order to manipulate the piece over to it. It's like anything else
it's just memorization
in life.
Yeah.
But
it is one of those things, like, because that was always like only smart people, or like the little peg jump thing.
Sure, yeah.
You're only smart if you can get less than two.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you can just memorize, you do this, you do it in this order, and then it's just like
right.
But they're still fun as all get out. Yeah. I never got into the Rubik's Cube that much.
You also have to have kind of a 3D like thinking mindset. If you think more abstractly, if you're looking, you have to know where pieces are around the cube and kind of have that. It's memorization, but it's also that knowledge of this piece is here, so that means that one has to be over here, and then you
one of those
do that
things
simultaneously.
If you have ADD, you're more likely to be able to do it, because people who have ADD typically see things in 3 dimensions in their mind, which is why a lot of people with ADD have problems with dyslexia, is because they don't see just like an A, like a ba. They see the actual A moving around and spinning in their brain.
Right. And then contrasting that, you also have to have supreme focus, because if you lose your place on what you're doing, because you have to repeat an algorithm a certain amount of times in a certain way, and if you get distracted or something shiny over there distracts you, you just lost it. And then you make one wrong turn, that's it. You got to kind of backtrack your steps and redo the whole side or section of it.
It's obviously a much more complex, but it's kind of like doing a whatchamacallit lock, dial lock.
Oh yeah, like a combination lock.
Combination lock. I knew that. I knew I was saying the wrong word, but it's that I used to hate having to do one. And it's, let's say it's like 15.
How many turns?
And I go to like 13. I'm like,
right.
Let me reset it by flipping it 3 times.
Right,
I used to hate those.
It's funny.
That's cool though.
That's it. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about our coffee from this week. It's okay. It's a lower mid. If I was gonna give it one,
You like it better than I do.
that's fair. Yeah. But the company is Devil Mountain Coffee Roasters. It is from Concord, California. It is the Dante's Revenge. And then this particular one is just a dark roast. There's no flavor to it or anything like that. And then this one did come.
Dirt.
There's no. Let me rephrase that. There's no like special like mocha frappa or some crap. And this one did come to us already pre-ground because they were out of the whole bean, but they do offer it. And the branding for this one is basically just a little evil devil head with some mountains in the background. Like it's pretty simplistic. It's definitely organic, and it'll make sure you know that. Overall, just as it comes black, we gave it like a 34, which is not the lowest we've given. I mean, the lowest we've given, I think we gave it like a 2 to a couple things, but I felt like I could probably drink it no problem. I would just complain about it. Chris, I think you did like what, 4 sips?
Yeah.
It wasn't a 2-sipper. You did a little bit more for the
Cream and sugar.
he did it for the gram.
Did more.
But I will say that with cream and sugar, it was much better. I actually just finished mine off. Overall, it's okay. With cream and sugar, we gave it a 64. So that I'd say that's more like upper mid, but without it, it's upper lows. So however you want to look at that.
Gross.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the coffee from your point of view besides being gross?
No. You did mention the customer service is great.
Oh yeah, no. I will say that. So in our coffee tasting, which you can also find on the channel, I did mention that I did have an issue when I was trying to order it originally from the company, and they reached out really, really quick to let me know about some allergies they had. Gave me multiple options of how to fix the problem, which I thought was really cool. Because a lot of times with these smaller companies, dude, you're getting crap customer service.
Sure.
But they were really quick to respond. They offered up a solution. And then on top of that, you'll notice this is a huge bag. They actually sent out a 2-pounder instead of the 1 pound that I paid for. So they were very, very nice. And I do want to mention that because I've been dealing with a lot of different companies for this particular season of our podcast. And they by far have been the best. And as a quick shout out, the only other company that was also awesome was Comics on Coffee. So
their customer service wasn't like Satan.
No, their customer service was more godly than the St. Michael's Heavenly Coffee Brewing Company. So Devil 1, Archangel 0. Moving along. Hashtag canceled. I got a little would you rathers for today.
All right, let's do it.
Would you rather have your social media account hacked and used to post offensive content, or have your identity stolen and used to commit a crime?
Social media.
Yeah. Now, the only reason why I think this one is worthwhile is that if someone did that, you're fired, right?
No, that's not true. You can prove that it's hacked.
It doesn't matter. The damage has already been done.
Nah, I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I'll dispute that.
I'm just saying. I know people.
Well, I don't have to worry about that.
Why?
I don't have social media.
You have social media.
I don't.
Yeah, you do.
We do.
We do. And so you have a couple of things of your own. You deleted it again?
I haven't for. Huh. Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Whatever. It's always difficult because your wife posts a lot of pictures of you.
She does.
So I see you.
Yes.
So, all right. So your wife's thing gets hacked.
Well, then it's not my problem. Mm-hmm.
I wonder how that would work. Totally off topic, but it's like if a company would go after somebody for what their significant other said on social media, if it was well known that they were the significant other.
Lawyer up.
Next one. Have all of your followers turned into real life stalkers, or have your accounts hacked and personal information stolen?
You're going to keep throwing that one at me, huh?
Do you want me to do other versions of things?
I'll take the fans.
You want them to be stalkers?
Yeah.
I actually would pick the same for that one.
Yeah.
I'd rather have real life stalkers that I'm dealing with than all of my personal information stolen and then used for shit.
I can do something about the people, stalkers. I don't know what ghost I'm fighting.
I don't want someone from like Indonesia or something like that spending like all my money and having to dispute it every 2 months.
Yeah, there's no sense of justice there, but there would be if there were people doing that.
All right, the last one I have for you, it's also a very simplistic one, is would you rather be forced to post controversial opinions or be banned for life?
Oh, this is going to be so difficult for me to decide. I guess I'm going to go with bans for life. It's going to be hard, though. I don't know how I'm going to get through it.
I don't know, man. You like looking at TikTok now. I got you into watching
I'm never on that. Only when you send me stuff, really. And then when I feel obligated to send you something because you send me so much and I don't send you any of that. So I go on, all right, let's see what the first 5 things that pop up and maybe one of them will be good. That's it.
Oh, it's so funny.
I know.
Yeah, the problem with a lot of those things is just like, while I definitely partake in social media, I don't post in social media. I read it. Like I go on Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter probably, well, at least the first 2 every day
Okay.
for at least like 10, 15 minutes each.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. I look through and I'm like, that's funny. And then I move along. Okay. And then if I'm waiting for like in between something, I'll pop open TikTok and I'll watch like 4 or 5 of them. I'm like, that's really good. Okay, that's great. And then I'll send one of them to like either, the kid or you or someone else that like it's relevant to.
Is YouTube considered social media?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Because I do. I spend some time on YouTube.
If YouTube counts as social media, then I am addicted.
Yeah, you are addicted.
You're so funny. Oh my God. Anyway, if YouTube is considered that, then hands down, I would say then I need to change that to I spend like 5-6 hours a day on social media, because even if, like, let's say I'm driving somewhere.
You can comment, you can post.
Well, you can't, right? Yeah.
Shorts.
But still, even if I'm driving somewhere, sometimes I'll hit a YouTube video that I know is going to be like just an auditory type situation that's interesting. Like Comics Explained is a good one I like, or there's some other like lore based channels for different like things I'm into, and I'll put that on and be listening to YouTube as I'm driving or something like that. Yeah. Instead of like going to, sometimes like I have a bunch of podcasts I listen to, but sometimes you're just not feeling it, Yeah. So you just want something different. Mm-hmm. But speaking of which, let's get into let's not consider YouTube social media for this particular conversation. Okay. Just because it's kind of on the fence for me, and I feel like it's so different from all of the other ones that it really should be in its own little subsection. Okay. Cool. Sure. Yeah. So like I was saying, I probably on average spend at somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour a day on social media. Okay. Now, there are some days where I'll get on TikTok and I'll be on there for like 3 hours. And I don't even notice it. Just because it's such small, like little snidbits of things that you don't realize how much time is adding up. How long would you say you do on average? I mean, do you even look at anything?
20 minutes a week.
Really? Yeah. And what are you looking at?
I'll do TikTok, and then I can't tell you the last time I was on Instagram.
Yeah, because you've always talked more about Instagram than any of the others. Sure. I've just I don't know. I think I've never found a good grouping of people to follow on Instagram, because I've just been like, okay, great pictures.
Yeah, I don't do it much. And then I would say Twitter, just to kind of see what the peoples are saying, right. And that's really just to see it. Honestly, this is going to sound messed up. I'll pop on social media to see who died or got hurt or said something stupid. Like,
right.
That's really it. Like, all right, what happened that I'm going to hear about today? So sometimes I'll pop on just to like, all right, what happened? Nothing. Okay, cool. And I'll shut it off. That's it. That's really it. Because then I know like what kind of conversations I'm going to have for the day.
Right.
You know,
I would say that I do use different apps for different purposes.
okay.
Right. So I would say that when I'm opening up Twitter, it's for one of two reasons. One is pathetically ridiculous, but it is one of the things. So I hate seeing a little number next to my apps to talk about how many things I have for the alerts.
Okay.
So if I see one on Twitter, I usually be like, okay, let me clear that real quick. And when I clear it, then I see like whatever like those top like maybe 2 tweets are.
Yeah.
And if they pull me in, then I'll look into it. Because of all the people that we follow on the Venti Questions thing, I'd say like maybe a fifth of them are things you're interested in, and the other 4/5 are things I'm interested in.
Sure.
And so if I see something that I'm like, wait, what? Then I might scroll down a little bit more. Or if it's something like really weird, I'm like, okay, Google. And I'll just like type in the title or the name of the person that they're talking about just to see like, they said what? I need the real story. Give me a YouTube video about this.
If I'm going to spend any time on social media to browse, it's going to be looking for things that are funny or I find funny.
No, I agree. I think that if I go onto Facebook, I very rarely ever look at what any of like my friends have posted or whatever, like my feed. I look at the thing where just like the videos.
Yeah.
And once again, all of a sudden I'll be like, why am I watching highlights from like Scottie Pippen for like 30 minutes? Like, I don't get what I'm doing. Why is this happening? But it just gets you, you know?
Why MJ's the greatest?
Oh God, I just watched one of those recently. It was
Mike
so
Tyson, the knockouts.
You know that? Okay, yeah, I was telling you about that earlier. Somehow, some way, Facebook realized that if they show me like knockout compilations, that I will watch the entirety of it because I'm like, oh. So now they just are, it's just fight after fight after fight after fight, and I'm just like, okay, calm down. I need something like a little bit more calm. And then it showed me this really like old Asian guy that was like making a clay teapot the old style way, and I was just like, oh. It was like 25 minutes long. I watched the entire thing.
You said it out loud, and
all you gotta do.
They knew what you needed.
Look, some people complain about that. I'm for it, but then if I'm on TikTok, my TikTok is the most hilarious grouping of things.
Cat videos, stand-up comics.
There's another animal. You got to put it in there.
There's another animal.
Think of the cutest, just most adorable animal from my point of view.
From a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view.
I don't know, man.
Red pandas, bro.
I wouldn't have guessed that. Talked about him like twice in like our whole friendship.
That's a lie, and you know it. I like red pandas, and I also like otters. Okay. You should know this.
Otters, I did know.
Yeah, you knew the otters. But you know what? Penguins are my favorite freaking animal, but I'd never seen any penguin videos.
Interesting.
Because I don't like searching for things on TikTok. I honestly don't like doing it at all because I feel like it's not natural.
And you know what? Spelling penguin's a lot harder than otter.
No, you just press the little microphone button and you say it. Okay. Welcome to the 22nd century. But no, those, and then I also get like some like D&D stuff, so like some nerd stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically what my stuff is, and so it's really funny because it's like dumb animal things typically get sent to the kid. A comic like piece that's like hilarious and maybe a little risque and or raunchy, they get sent to you.
That's funny.
Or anything like superhero related that's kind of funny, I send those to you as well.
Anything religious, sacrilegious, I should say.
Oh, those ones I automatically send you.
Yeah.
Well,
send them right to me.
You shouldn't have became religious for a while. That was your fault. I had to beat it out of you. Anywho.
Ew. It's gross.
I know. That's why I didn't like it. But yeah, no.
Listen to our podcast on religion to find out what we think, as our opinion.
I like how you're promoting other videos during a video.
I'm just saying.
I do think that while there are time frames where, of course, I am spending an excessive amount of time, I feel that typically it's when I don't know how I would phrase it. It's during a time frame where I don't have really any other option.
Okay.
It's like, cool, I'm going to sit here.
Read a book.
Listen to what I'm going to say, please. I'm going to sit here and spend 5 minutes trying to read something in a book, which means that I'll get to the point where I can read maybe half a paragraph because I have to find the book I want to read, and I have to open it up, then I have to figure out where I was, then I have to start onto that.
That's your excuses, Michael.
Oh, okay. You just don't hear, what's actually an explanation. I wonder where you got that habit from.
Excuses.
Good job, Joe. Anyway, so you just don't, I don't see like the point in trying to do something like that. So it's like, usually it's like very small dosages of things where I'm not the kind of person that's going to read an article or something like that that's, less than a minute worth of content. So I just don't see the point in trying to do other things.
Oh. Yeah, I go through phases with social media. So sometimes, I don't know, I think I'll spend time on it sometimes in that state of mind where I don't feel like doing anything else. I'll find myself on social media most if I'm on the toilet, in all honesty, because that's, in my opinion, where that belongs. Just because you're idle, you're there, you're stuck. There's nothing else. I'm not going to grab a book when I'm on the toilet. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna, that's what I'll do. I'll have my phone, scroll, and that's it. So
yeah, I find that I use it probably the most when it's like I first woke up and I'm trying to wake myself up. Sometimes I'll just like grab my phone and I'll like try to find something that's funny. Then it'll make me laugh and I'm like, okay, cool. I got to get up. All right.
Yeah.
Or if I'm trying to wind down to go to sleep. So I'll watch like maybe 5 minutes or something like that. Or I'll turn on like a YouTube video.
Me, that does not help me get to sleep.
Oh yeah. That's how I sleep.
No,
I don't go to sleep. I fall asleep.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I'm not like, okay, turn the lights or close your eyes on the pillow. That's not how I
do.
I haven't done that since I think like elementary school.
I 100% say, all right, got to go to bed now. Shut everything off and go to bed.
Oh, I say, gotta go to bed now. I'm gonna put on a stream from Joffrey. Cool. They have great voices for.
They put you to sleep. That's great. That's good.
They tuck me in every night.
They tuck you in.
I sent them a message. I was like, I really appreciate you guys. You really helped my sleep. I didn't. Oh man, it's funny though. But no, so I found, because I looked it up, and I found that the average amount of time that a normal person apparently spends on social media is 2 hours and 25 minutes per day.
Oof, gross.
I was actually kind of shocked that it was that much.
That's too
because
much.
I figured, and don't get me wrong, if I would have asked, like, what's the average time frame a teenager spends on not TikTok, sorry, I just naturally say that one, on social media, I would have expected that. But no, theirs is much higher.
Yeah.
That's an average of like all people's. And I'm like, dang, that's kind of crazy. Like, once again, if we're talking about, if you're adding in YouTube, then I surpass that. Sure. I'm part of the problem. But if it's just straight social media stuff, yeah. There was a time when I was actually working on all of them that, yeah, I totally spent that much time on there.
Yeah, makes sense.
But that was when I was having to set up and change and do and all that.
Yeah,
but that also helped burn me out even further, because that was the reason why we don't have a huge social media presence is because I was trying to do all of them, and it made me hate all of them. So
yes, that's unfortunate that we don't like social media, knowing that that's what you need to have a presence on in order to be successful.
Yeah,
in exactly what we're doing right now. So
it's one of those things where it's kind of like, you know, there is a barrier for entry, and a lot of it is, hey, you want to do something on these types of apps? Cool. Then you have to use these types of apps.
Right. Now, mind you, it's for me, it's not because I'm older and I don't know or like them or whatever. It's no, I'm not square. Pulp Fiction over here. Uma Thurman, I'm going to call you.
Oh, more Vincent than anything else.
Yeah, I guess. But, yeah. Die.
Wow.
Die, Michael, die. But it's mostly because I did use them a lot, and I did get into social media, and I did have profiles and spent a lot of time on it, and unfortunately realized how miserable it made me. You know, which we'll probably get into, that topic.
That honestly does kind of lead in where I was going to go next. We just jumped to that. Is, you know, there's a very large topic, and I think that there's both positives, negatives, and a pretty heavy point, the fact that there's an issue for mental health and social media, a good correlation, I should say.
100%.
I think that on paper, right, social media is a marvelous thing.
Yeah, like communism, socialism, and all the isms.
Yeah. Because, you know, it's bringing people together. It's giving outlets for people to be able to reach a community that may not be one that's locally viable for them. Be able to learn things from one another and all kinds of great aspects. Mm-hmm. And there is some people that utilize it that way. There really are. It's just that they're like that fringe 3 to 5%, you know? And unfortunately, there's a lot of douchebags in the world, man.
Sure are.
And I would say 70% probably are that are on these things. And it's real easy to act all big and bad when you're a keyboard gangsta. And, you know, because of that, you get a lot of possibilities of people bullying or just outright saying dumb things so they think it's funny that can affect other people.
Yeah.
And it's
especially when people are putting themselves out there, in social media, and then other people just wreck them, right? And
that's what's sad. Well, here, I find it sad when it's like a kid.
Okay.
If a 35-year-old puts himself out there for something like that, and somebody just knocks him down 5 pegs, I'm like, ooh, harsh. Okay, I move on with my life.
Yeah.
But when like a kid puts something out there and then like some other adult then like verbally attacks them, you're like, really, bro? Not only should you know better.
As a social media user, people should, the rule they should apply is if they would say that to someone, to their face, like someone that they know, like a colleague or, you know,
right.
And they'd say that same thing to their face, more power to you, post it, you know. But if they didn't have that smoke screen, that you know, if they were out of reach, or you know, that telephone tough guy kind of thing, Twitter tough guy, I don't know what you call it now, but yeah, like it's one of those things that I just think that's such a cowardice act to be that way and to be hateful in that manner. You know?
No, I agree. It's one of those things where it's like, if you're not willing to accept the repercussions of your words in person, why would you then think that it's acceptable to do via social media?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, do I think Mike Tyson has a funny speaking voice? Yeah. Am I going to post that? No, because I wouldn't say it to his face, because he would wreck mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, It is what it is.
Right.
You wouldn't do that. We've posted stuff and we've had a couple of like negative comments on things, and I find it funny just because I'm an argumentative person and I immediately want to go back and attack. And then I'm like, no, it's not worth my time.
Yeah, there's those that knee-jerk reaction to be like, did you even read what you posted? Because by your logic, it doesn't make sense, right? Like even by standards that they use to tear down the thing that we would post or say, it just wouldn't make sense.
I think the funniest argument that I got into was it was a Star Wars based one. Of course. Shocker that something Star Wars based could make me angry, isn't it, Chris?
Turning to the dark side. You're a completely different person, Michael.
I hope you burn in hell. But no, like I don't like it when somebody tries to call out an opinion when it's obvious they have no deep knowledge of the topic.
Sure.
And it's just like, really?
I just think the first part you said is stupid. The fact that you're going to try to call out an opinion, it's okay to present a contrasting opinion, right? But to call out like, oh, your opinion is wrong, that sentence is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Accurate. I should rephrase what I was referring to. I had so somebody posted a comment. Doesn't matter. But they posted a comment. I responded to it, like, adding on to it. And then somebody attacked my add-on saying, that's not right because blah, 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 didn't ever do blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if you've done any more research other than just watching 3 of the 9 films that are part of the saga and actually read a book once in a while, you imbecile, you would understand that did happen multiple times.
Right.
Go jump off a really high bridge. But you know what I mean? Like it's
But you did not post that. So
No, I didn't, because I said that and I'm like, it's not worth it. Let him have his moral victory and move along.
Right.
Because it's just sometimes I love to argue. I am very pro talking shit. But I like doing it to the face. Like, I like to do it to your face, and then you're like, and then you come right back.
Yeah.
Like, that's fun, because also I can tell, like, oh, I went too far. And like, oh, hey, bro, I'm just playing. Like, like we can still have that level of it where it's like, I don't want to, like, I won that conversation, and then that guy goes and like literally jumps off a high bridge. You know what I mean? Like, that's not fair.
Yeah, you don't know.
I don't know what he's going through. Right.
You don't know what they're going through, and you don't know if. Yeah, something happened. Right. You just don't want to be.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that crap. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, you wouldn't deal with it. You'd never know. But the fact of the matter is, it's just, why would I want to influence that on other people? Why would you want to hurt anyone in that way? Just to be mean.
Just to be mean right now.
Bully. Yeah.
Unless they're trying to say that Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader are 2 separate people, and then they kind of deserve it.
Well, only because they did say that. So.
They didn't say that, but I think the worst part too is from the aspect. So like, we're grown ass adults, right? And when social media really became more of like the app based type style stuff, we were already in our late 20s, right?
No. When I lived with you at Sand Lime, we had MySpace.
Right. And that wasn't an app-based thing because
I'm sorry. Did you say app-based thing?
Yes, I did.
I must have just zoned out when you were talking.
Yeah, that's what you usually do. That's why you're always wrong.
That's not true.
So app-based is what I was referring to, was when we were in like our mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And once it got to that level where it was accessible wherever you were, instead of just being from like, when I'm home, I'm going to comment on, like you're saying, like MySpace or Facebook or whatever. It became a thing of I'm reach into a pocket and or like bag away from being able to read and then post. I think that caused there to be a lot more of it going back and forth.
Yeah.
Than there was when it was like, okay, this is a stationary thing. I can only do this for X amount of time because I'm going out into the world, and doing things.
Sure.
And with that, I think for kids especially, they're growing up in a completely different environment than people that are like, I don't know, maybe like one generation behind us.
Okay.
Because if you're growing up where at any moment you can make a comment or justify something or just share something, that's why we see so many of those like younger generations where they're doing the whole, I'm taking a picture of every single meal and sending it out. Hey, look at what we're doing. We're doing this. Oh, look at what we're doing now. We're doing that. Where you're getting all these things where you're doing things now in order to have content to share instead of going to do things for the enjoyment of going to do things.
Yeah.
And I don't know, obviously I don't think it's healthy, but I don't know where that line is.
There isn't a definitive line because there are plenty of people our age and even older that do that.
Oh, no, I understand that. I'm just saying I think it's more of an issue for the younger generation because they don't have as many life experiences to base the counter argument to themselves on.
They didn't have life before the app.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right. So they didn't, their knee-jerk reaction is that's how they live. That's how they were raised. That's just what it is naturally. Whereas we played outside.
Right.
You know,
no, absolutely.
We didn't have smartphones. We didn't have, those apps as you're saying. Even technology itself, we just, what did we have? We had a MP3 player, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
If you were a rich kid.
Maybe. Or a Walkman.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's kind of like, okay, so like when I was in college, Facebook was still like in its infancy where you still had to have a school email address to even have Facebook.
I remember that.
Which just was so smart because it made it seem so much more exclusive. So MySpace was still like the biggest thing because it was the only thing that was completely accessible to everybody.
Right.
And so like, yeah, you would look at your MySpace maybe like a couple of times a day, maybe. And that's just because when I was in college, I was either at class or hanging out with people. And even if we were hanging out like just at their apartment, my computer wasn't there. You know what I mean?
Right. Or yeah. And if you were home, you would have MySpace up just to listen to whatever songs that you put on your page. Perhaps.
Some people would, yeah.
Something like that. So
it was one of those things where yes, you might get a comment or a post or whatever. I don't remember what the vernacular is for those. But it was much more of a, oh, someone posted something. Cool. I'll post something back. 7 hours later. Oh, cool. They posted back. You know,
I don't even remember how MySpace worked. Was there a feed or was it just you'd get messages from people?
It was messages.
Right. That's all it was. Like DMs, right?
Yeah. If I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I feel like that is correct.
Then you had your friends.
Oh, I remember when the top 4 became a thing.
The 4 or 5?
Well, originally it was top 4.
Plus Tom?
No, because you could delete Tom if you wanted to delete Tom.
Aww.
But then it made it so you could be from top 4 all the way to top 16. You could choose how many you wanted in your top.
I remember that, choosing how many you wanted.
And I remember many times where you would put people in there because typically you just put the people that you would click on the most, right? It just made most sense. But then it became well, why aren't you the number 1? Why are you not my number 1?
Right. You demoted. That was probably the first example that I can think of, not just ranking, but of like essentially like bullying in a way. Where where it's like, oh, well, I'm going to take them off my top 5 or top 6 or whatever the heck you designated. Right. And then it's like, I'm going to send them a message by doing that. And then it's like, oh, did you see so-and-so's not on their top thing? Who's on your top thing? Oh, and it's just that peer pressure type, that social thing.
I remember there was this one, like, it was a really big deal at the time, but now it's so pathetically petty to even mention. So once again, in college, there was one girl that we were all friends with that then had another friend that was a girl that only a few of us were friends with. I happened to be friends with her. The first girl got a boyfriend. And so the boyfriend became number 1.
Number 1, right.
Which then moved her from number 1 to number 2. and she lost her ever-loving mind because she's like, this guy is just a fad. He doesn't deserve to be there. I've listened to her cry about blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, it was like somebody was not asked to be matron of honor at a wedding. Like, it was like a much bigger deal than, like, it was, oh my gosh, but like, it was a thing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This was like a week-long, like, 7 or 8 people's lives were affected thing.
That's because you had to consciously choose and think about who you're going to have in your, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
It was super easy for me. I put you, Rob, and like 2 other guys. I'm just like, oh yeah, these are just family.
Yeah.
And then I just left it at that and moved along with my life.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to deal with it.
Yep. That's funny.
Oh man. Yeah, it was
But that was the first social media I had was MySpace.
Yeah, me too. I've heard of Friendster, but I heard of it after MySpace, and so I was like, this sucks, because Friendster was like this, and then MySpace kind of like stole a lot of stuff and then made it like bigger. Mm-hmm. So it was like a downgrade in a sense.
Yeah.
I will say that old school Facebook, I really liked old school Facebook.
Yeah.
When you still poked people.
Oh, yeah.
When there was like the vampire game.
Yes.
Like the werewolf one and all those little stupid things. When it was like that, I was into it. Like, I loved it. And you would just like send a message to somebody every once in a while, and it was like, that's cool. And you're like, let me post this cool thing.
The poking was cool.
I like,
hey, I'm here, right?
Yeah.
But then, you can't poke people anymore. So,
And you made it weird.
Against sexual harassment policies. No poking.
No touching.
No touching.
Just everybody saw Emperor's New Groove and just took it really far.
No touching.
Some of the other aspects of social media that I do find to be like a interesting thing is the embracing from companies.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's amazing for companies.
Oh yeah,
they can skip everything and go straight to consumer.
Well, not only can they go straight to consumer, they go straight to the consumer that's already proven to like things of theirs.
Right.
Especially through Facebook.
They're consumer. Like, right. They go to them. Yeah. I like said company. I click on said company's page or whatever.
I looked it up, and in 2022, it was expected to be $220 billion spent on advertisements from the things that major companies. So I feel like that's probably like over a certain like threshold. I don't know what it was though. On social media. And it's just like, that's insane. They also said that 97% of that was through Facebook.
Oh, I believe.
Because Facebook's the number one ad thing of all of them.
Oh yeah.
Because they have the most data, and therefore they're able to give the best like direct link for a company to get to the right person.
Yep.
Which, all right, let me ask you a question. What is your opinion on social media sites taking people's, like, not like their personal information, but like their preferences, and then utilizing it as a selling point to then companies, so that then companies can provide that person with things that they like?
Why wouldn't they?
I'm saying, what's your opinion on it?
If I'm putting in my information on someone's site and someone's thing, I think they can do what they want with it, because I'm voluntarily giving that information. Now, if I want to go in and read the user agreement, and then if there is a feature where I can opt out of certain things, which there is now, you can do all that.
Yeah.
Then great, you do that. You take that. No, you find it. You have to find it and go to it.
Yeah,
it's easier now because there was.
It is much. Because of all the crap. But yeah,
right. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the. First of all, your experience is going to be optimized, because the things that you like and things that you say you like, you're going to get presented with a lot more.
Right.
So what's wrong with that?
See, that's where my mindset is.
Privacy. Don't put your shit online.
Well,
you want to be private.
My thing with privacy is, it's not like they're saying, hey, here's this guy's social security number and all of his fun facts. They just say, hey, this guy likes, I don't know, toaster strudels more than Hot Pockets.
Okay.
Go for it. Obviously, he likes this type of food, or, different things of that nature. I understand that, like, whatever I click on and sites I go to, nobody else really has the right to know what I'm doing, privacy aspects of that. And I get that aspect, and I get the argument for it. But I also don't care enough. And because we share certain social media things through different accounts for like doing this type of stuff, when I'm into something, because you start getting ads for it. Yeah. Like, what was it? You were getting all those 3D printer ads when I was getting different printers.
The Blood Bowl stuff pop up.
Blood Bowl stuff. And then didn't you also get the drawing tablets for a while? Mm-hmm. So you always know what I've been searching.
Right.
I find that as a positive, because could somebody say that it's undermining my own personal thought process by feeding me things or trying to convince me to do something like that? Sure. Okay. But what's the difference between, let's take old school here, opening up the newspaper and seeing an ad? If it triggers towards me, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it.
How about this?
Plus, a lot of times those ads have discounts, and sometimes that's the thing you need to be able to push you over the edge.
Coupons.
How
about this? Let's say on a particular social media site, there was some type of account system.
Okay.
And for whenever they use your information for something, for they sell your information to a soda company or whatever it is, or, they do that. You get a fraction of a penny or a fraction,
Oh, okay.
So then you actually will have like a social media account, like bank account or transaction account, some type of digital currency, perhaps. I don't know. So we're kind of going in that direction. And at that point, that incentivizes the people who use it more. Their information is going to be probably sold more, utilized more, because they're clicking on more things. It
has a more built out aspect
so
to it as well.
So if you pay the customer, even if it's fractions of pennies, but it could add up to be like $15 a week, or whatever that is, depending on how much. That'd be kind of cool. And I think that'd be a great way around, like, I'm doing this, but you're making money on it too.
I agree. I just feel like
it can incentivize using the platform.
I feel like, unfortunately, because of where the companies are at now, it would be like regressing for them, because they're already doing it and they're not paying us crap. So,
well, it would be. But let's say, I don't know, Facebook has to, there's some type of hearing, or that's never happened. But
shocker.
But let's say all of a sudden government decides, hey, we're going to intervene here because we just don't feel like that. Let's say kind of like, all right, well, why don't you share some of that? Companies pay a fraction of it, whatever, to, and then there you go.
Well, let's look at the facts. 10 years from now, these conversations that happened most recently, like with Zuckerberg and stuff like that, they're going to happen again. But the people in power are actually going to understand technology.
Right.
Because it's going to be one generation lower. They're not going to ask the dumb questions. One of the biggest, I recently did actually watch like a good 45 minutes of like a breakdown on the court hearing. Yeah. Because I was just like, I started watching a little thing and it made me interested, and then I found like a nice video, right? And the reason why he was able to really get out of certain things was because the way they phrased their questions. For instance, they would ask him questions like, so on my iPhone, blah, 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 and he was like, we don't make iPhones, so I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Exactly.
That has to do with the terms of services for the iOS system, which is not something that we own. That's owned by Apple. Right. And it's like, you're still not answering the question. You're using the fact that they didn't know how to ask it appropriately to escape it.
Right.
And I mean, genius move. I would freaking do it too.
Yeah.
And I'd be giggling so bad. Like, I don't have like a robot face like he does, so I would get caught because I'd be like, yeah, we don't make that.
Dude looks like Data from Star Trek.
But more pale. Data looked like he had a tan in comparison. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that's something that I think is going to be interesting. And so that is where I feel like that could come into play. When they finally have people in a position that can challenge these companies at like the same mental capacity.
Yeah.
Then there might be some like, look, you can't do it unless there's some sort of like, financial compensation to the people that you're taking this information from. Sure. And they have to opt in.
Right. You're essentially would be selling that information as opposed to offering it up for free volunteering.
Yeah. You'd be like a broker at that point, Yeah. So that is an interesting thought process though.
It'd be cool. I think it could become a win-win.
No, I agree. I think that there's definitely going to be points of evolution within social media just because of the way that it works in general, where it's constantly evolving. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure which way is going to end up being like the next step to it.
Right.
There was something else that I was gonna bring up. Oh no, that's what it was. Yeah, so we were talking about like the businesses coming up with them utilizing like that. How do you feel now about the fact that businesses are now requiring? I shouldn't say requiring. Let me rephrase. Businesses are reacting to their employees saying, commenting opinions that are being posted on their personal social media accounts, that their businesses are actually like reprimanding them, I guess you could say, or holding them accountable for certain thought process.
I'll speak on that a little bit. So mixed feelings, but generally, I think it's a personal decision if you're going to have work people as friends on your personal social media. And if you make that decision and then someone sees that because you decided that you wanted to, invite them to see that stuff, and I think that can complicate a situation, and they might have grounds at that point. Mm-hmm. But if you don't, and you're not welcoming them to your page, and someone happens to go on and try and look it up to find something to encrypt, then I think that could be some form of retaliation where, this person, I'm going to see if I can find something on them or whatever it is. And I think that that's completely wrong.
And I think that happens a lot.
I think it does. I also think that if you're dumb enough to use your company's name in a post and do that, I think, unfortunately, that's a bad move on your part too. And then again, since you're bringing their name up, there might be some repercussions there.
I agree with that aspect. Like, if you're going to say something disparaging about the company you work for, or you're going to be saying something slightly controversial while then also utilizing the name in the same sentence,
sure,
or same post, let's just say same post. That's right. Fair.
Yeah.
Then I feel like, the company does have some sort of grounds to be able to step in.
They should be able to request for you to remove it and issue a warning that if it happens again, you can be subject to termination. That's my opinion, because you're allowed to make a mistake in life. And the fact that in a heated moment or a frustration because something didn't go well at work or your way, and you made just a bad judgment call and you just posted it and you shouldn't have, I think you shouldn't be able to be fired on the spot for something like that. I think there should be, a talking to and maybe some education on that. Mm-hmm. Companies don't educate when it comes to certain things. They just act.
No, very true.
So if they just educate and then you go through a training on why this is important and educate you and so on and so forth on that, and then you do it again, that's a problem, because then now it's something that we're all learning. Everyone's learning how to use social media and interact with that, and how that could affect their job and their, how other companies view them when you're trying to gain employment and so on and so forth. but because there's no script for that, it's up to the company to provide that in their policy, and then not just have a blanket policy that they can say that you would sign and say like, oh yeah, I agree not to do, but like, come on, like there has to be some education behind it. If you slip up, there's got to be that one warning at least, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Unless you say, I'm going to burn this place to the ground, and you say the name of it or whatever, it's like, well, you know what? That's maybe a little bit more of a threat, and now we got to look at you. And that's an unfortunate thing, right? But if they say, oh, man, this stupid customer, at my job, and then it's like, oh, someone sees that, oh, dude, you can't insult our customers, or this and that and the other, or I really don't like the policy of and then it's like, oh, okay, like there needs to be some type of education there, I think, before the final decision is made to then be let go. In my opinion,
I agree with what you're saying, but I disagree with certain types of things that I feel like they should be allowed to jump into.
Okay.
So once again, let's use the company Albertsons, because we don't have them in Florida. So obviously we're not talking about personal experiences. It's a grocery store for those people who don't know.
Yeah.
So let's say I work at Albertsons, but I make a post saying, man, today at work, these people were driving me insane, asking me the dumbest freaking questions. Sometimes I just want to pop them in the face.
Sure.
But it doesn't say anywhere on my profile where I work.
Right.
I did not name where I work.
Right.
There are certain companies that will lose their ever-loving mind because of that comment.
Sure. The problem is, it's
I feel like that one, they have
wrong.
No right to say anything.
They don't. It's semantics, because you didn't say, next time this happens, I'm going to.
Yeah, you're saying
it's like,
I would love to.
I'd love to act out this thing that I have in my mind, but you don't say you're going to do it, right? That's. I think that's a problem too. And if there was a concern, and if someone did get to a supervisor, say, hey, like, are you doing okay? Like, that's the conversation. It's like, hey, this came to my attention. Like, are you good?
Right.
There's a little frustration there. You do know that if you do assault a customer, you will end up not having a job, right? It's like, oh no, I'm sorry, it's blowing off steam. Like, I'll just take that down. Okay, like,
but see, that. I have a big frustration with a company, right? That you are agreeing to the terms and conditions to work for a company during the timeframes that you are being paid.
Sure.
Outside the timeframes you're being paid, you don't owe them nothing.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying they're going to demand them to take it down.
No. But there are a lot of companies that will.
Oh, that happens a lot.
Yeah, which I feel like is completely entirely ridiculous.
Unless, as I said, unless the name of the company is being used and they're being slandered in that sense, that's where it kind of gets iffy. So.
But there again, you use the word slander, and I like the fact that you use the word slander. If what they're saying is correct, companies shouldn't be able to say shit.
Yeah, that's always going to be based upon a certain point of view.
Or an investigation.
Yeah. Investigation never
a comment
end well.
Stating like, this is the fourth time I've been passed over for a promotion. I'm going to be talking to HR about this.
Right.
That should be perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, that's expressing.
Or let me rephrase that. This is the fourth time I've been passed over for a promotion at Albertsons. I'm getting sick and tired of this. I hope HR can actually help us. I don't think you should be able to get in trouble for something like that.
I agree.
But I feel like Albertsons would disagree. Because what they're saying, and if it is legitimately they are right, this is the fourth time, and they do an investigation, and it turns out that each time it was not for a better candidate in any form or fashion. It was like, oh, that was that one's cousin, and that one was that one's friend. Then I just don't see, but I feel like there's a lot of companies that just have like you said, I think before, that the term was blanket response where it's just like, boom, this is what we do. Just that way we don't have to.
They just post their policy usually on that particular thing and then apologize for any frustration that may cause, but blah, 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 you know,
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Right. And that's fine. The problem with that is knowing that now you're really not going to get that promotion.
Oh, absolutely.
Showing your judgment. Right. And I think that's the other problem. It's interesting. So yeah, really the thing to think about is like, you know, let's say, here's a good example. We're speaking our piece on what we think companies should do and so on. You know, if I, from doing this on a podcast, if I get let go from my company that I work for because someone happens to hear it that works for the company and they report it,
Right.
you know, oh, you know, so-and-so said this and whatever it is. And, you know, and that they provide that as evidence or whatever it is. Like so-and-so doesn't like our social media stance or this or that.
Right.
You know, should I be let go for what we've just said here about our general feelings and stance on social media policy?
No, because it is not negatively affecting the image of the company that you are being quoted as representing.
Right. Right.
Now, if we started saying disparaging things about that particular company itself, could they have more of an argument? Yes, but in reality, no. You're not on the clock right now.
Yeah, we're not putting the logo on the screen. We're not
You don't know
using
that.
the
I haven't
name.
edited yet.
Oh boy, here we go.
It's going to be right here.
Yeah. Great.
I'm going to put like a big apple right there or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an apple, like apple.
Like the fruit
apple.
company?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, pear. Sorry.
you go.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
No, but see, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I also feel that I agree that is what would happen,
Yeah.
and I think that's stupid. My thing is that I feel that the only time frame that a company should control their employees is while they're being paid.
Sure.
You want to pay me when I'm off hourly?
Right.
And then I can't say anything negative about you or anything that you feel isn't correct? Sure.
Okay. So
Give me a paycheck.
So how about a salaried employee?
No, because first off, the way that salary employees are typically utilized is actually usually illegal. It's just that most salary employees never do enough research to realize that what they're being asked to do is actually against the law. And so therefore it gets unreported and it goes from there. But just because somebody is salary does not mean that you are owned as a piece of property.
Right.
Because that's what most companies, let me rephrase, that is how most companies treat salaried employees.
Sure.
Good, bad, in different companies. Is, well, your salary, so it's something that you have to deal with. Just because your salary does not mean that you are on their beck and call every single moment of every single day.
Right. There is a typical work schedule, right, that is provided, and you agree to a certain pay amount for that allotted time. And if you do need to spend more time at work doing a particular thing while you're at work or whatever that is, then yeah, there's no additional overtime or compensation for that. But I think it's interesting because, to your point, most companies view it as you just got to be there for the business. You got to, you got to do it.
But also most companies, if you're sick for an extended period of time because you're sick, or they decide that they're going to have we're going to close on this time a little bit earlier, something like that. Not all those hours are still paid.
Right.
Which is like, so wait a minute. So if there's a extraordinary circumstances and you need me to work outside of the normal agreed upon hours and benefit the team, and that's why I'm salary, why doesn't it a two-way street?
Sure. I think it's supposed to be in most cases.
I think with certain companies, it probably is.
Yeah.
But in my experience and experience of some of the other people I know, it's not. Because this is my whole thing I don't understand about salary. We're totally off topic, but I just want to talk about this really quick. Salary and sick time.
Yeah.
Right? So you have a set amount of time that you're allowed to be sick and get paid. Why is there not a set amount of time that they're allowed to ask you to stay extra?
Sure.
and not get compensated.
Right.
If you're going to make one, you should make the other.
Yeah.
Which no one's ever going to make this one, let's be real. So then just get rid of this. And if they abuse it, document it, get rid of them.
Right.
No problems. Anyway, back to social media.
Anyhow.
But no, like I said, I do see where you're coming from. Some of it, I disagree with a lot of those kind of things. The practice, not what you said. What you said, I 100% agree with. That's what would happen. It does make me nervous though about what is going to happen 20 years from now, right? Because companies are becoming more and more influential.
Sure. With
certain types of politics and things that are being passed. And because we're at that, another one of those like technology lines where things are going to be like, oh, wow, could be bad.
So saying that, shifting to kind of another thing to talk about is politics and social media. Does it belong there?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Because then you're just restricting language, right?
But once again, should people lose jobs because of their opinion on politics?
No, I mean, this goes with the same thing that we were talking about.
I'm going to do a slightly different change on that.
Okay.
We're talking about Hollywood. If an actor or actress states their particular thought processes and then they are fired, it's kind of weird.
It shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be.
Unless they say something
even still
extremely wrong against the group. So you have, let's say someone wrote a fictional fantasy novel series, and this said person gave an opinion about a group of people, an ethnic group of people,
cool.
Or religious.
I hate
or
cat boys. Cool, gotcha.
Sure, yeah.
We're using fantasy. Makes the life easier.
Yeah, exactly. They say something that could be interpreted as anti-cat boy.
Yeah. Guys with tails are unnatural.
Right. Right.
I'm helping you out.
There you go.
Right.
If the tail's in the back, it ain't right.
Woo!
Visual there.
Oh gosh, that's funny. Okay, go on.
Right.
Yeah, so they make that comment.
Should they deal with the consequences of maybe losing a movie deal or publishing rights, whatever it is,
In my personal opinion, no.
Okay.
Because with an asterisk, the asterisk is, does what they've stated as an opinion cause them to not be able to physically do the work?
Okay.
Are they going to be better or worse at performing the job duty they were hired for because of what their statement was?
When the argument's made then, oh, well, you can draw these conclusions and similarities between how they think and then what they're putting in their material and relate it to hateful this or, whatever it is.
That makes sense for a writer.
Then you're influencing. Well, that was the example I gave, right? Like,
I thought we were talking about actor. Sorry.
Well, you mentioned actor, and then I said like person who writes a novel or series.
Oh yeah, you said writer. I'm so sorry.
Writer.
No, you did say that. My fault. I skipped over that part.
And so they can say, well, this person happens to write, and their audience is children, and this is the kind of muck that they're putting out to the world.
Sorry, I love the word muck. It's such a great word.
If you really break it down, then the cloud people are actually and then people do that, right?
This type of species is really just a cover up for what they mean for these people in real life,
right.
And blah blah blah.
Pseudonymous and that, right?
Yeah.
So
euphemism.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a slippery slope,
right? Okay. So I agree with you on somebody who is writing the material. Somebody who is creating the framework, what their opinion is, does directly affect that.
Sure.
If an actor is hired to act based upon what they are given, their opinion over here does not affect if they are able to act this way.
That's not true. because it could affect movie sales. So a lot of these, to my knowledge, some of these contracts that actors, when they sign them for a movie deal, they agree to not do or say anything that could affect negatively the sales of the production.
Okay. If that is a clause inside their contract, then 100% you're right.
Right.
Because they're agreeing to it.
Right.
But
now, if they're
that's not a clause,
if they're off a project, they're not currently working on a production.
Right.
They happen to say something stupid.
Say something that is perceived to be stupid.
Precisely. And then they go audition. Mm-hmm. And they're told, sorry, we don't think it's going to be a good fit because you said this comment over here, but in this role, you're actually playing someone who fought the Nazis.
Here's the thing. Would that be considered discrimination? And therefore, would there be a lawsuit? Because you couldn't do that in any other business.
I'm sure it happens on a regular basis.
Oh, it definitely happens on a regular basis. But also, people are definitely not hired at regular jobs on a regular basis based upon somebody having an accent.
No, but it's you can't. It's
right. It's illegal.
Right. It's basically
discrimination.
It's basically who you know in most things.
Right.
For opportunities.
Right. But what I'm saying though is I feel like there's a double standard.
It's how do you prove it is the question. And then what type of lengthy legal proceeding do you want to undertake to prove?
Oh, yeah, because if you
because then you're not working at all.
Yeah, it's very similar to like a sexual harassment type thing.
Sure.
A lot of times the person that is the victim will be punished more in the long run by actually pursuing justice.
Sure.
Because then they get blackballed. Regardless of the outcome, now they're like, ooh, I don't want to touch that particular thing with a 12-foot pole because God forbid something bad happens here too. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Now, this might be something,
also is messed up.
This might be something that you disagree with, and we've kind of talked about this in some other form at one point, but when you're a celebrity and you are an entertainer and
God, I hate this conversation.
And you have, it's the same thing.
No, I agree.
But you have an image to uphold because that's what PR is. That's why they have people that are PR people, right?
Yeah, of course.
They have reputation management for a reason. Mm-hmm. If you're going to say a bunch of things that are considered controversial, and we all know what those topics are.
Yeah, if you're going to say things that are counterproductive to the image that you were trying to create for yourself.
Right. Or it could put that image in jeopardy one way or another, right? Then you start spewing off about that. You got to deal with the consequences at the same time. It's one of those things that you make bad decisions, bad things happen. I mean, it's as simple as that. When you are a public figure in that sense, you were kind of held to a higher standard because the stakes are higher.
Okay.
There are more people that you influence. And because of that.
Right. But let's use the example of you're 17 years old, right? So you're probably like a senior in high school. You go on Twitter and you make a joke that is risque.
An off-color joke.
Thank you. An off-color joke that is a 7 out of 10 on the risky level.
Sure.
Right? 15 years goes by. Now, if that joke was to be said, it is currently 37 on the Richter scale of offensive.
Right.
Because times have changed.
Right.
And you've never made any other jokes like that? No other issues whatsoever? But somebody doesn't like you.
And they dig it up.
And they dig up a comment from 15 years ago when you were a minor. Do you feel that means that person is the same person? Should they be treated as if they are the same person?
They should not.
But does that almost always the way that they are treated?
I think it depends.
Almost always.
Yeah, I really do think it depends. I think that, if Justin Bieber, before he became famous and was found, right,
would
say something dumb or whatever.
When he was still on the YouTubes.
When he was still on YouTube's, right? doing that, Beebs on tubes. And then that surfaces now, right? Or at the height of his fame.
Right.
Are we going to hear about it? Yes.
Right.
Is it going to really hurt his fan base and his craft? No, they don't care at all.
Because his fan base is based on the fact that
their parents will care.
He can sing and that they find him attractive. That's
right.
That's his entire brand.
Their parents will care. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. Which actually might help his brand.
It definitely will.
Because rebellion and all that kind of ridiculousness.
So.
Right. But like, without, we know countless people that have lost jobs. Let me rephrase. We know of countless people in media.
Yeah.
We don't know these people personally.
Yeah.
That have lost jobs because of a comment they've made on a particular form of social media X amount of years ago.
And typically what it is so-and-so was singing along to a song that had the N-word in it. And
I forgot about that one, but yes, that one as well.
That gets recorded or mentioned or whatever it is. And then they're like, they have to issue an apology.
Or there was one that I saw that was actually really, I thought it was like, really? Come on. There was a couple of times where X person makes a comment. Y person likes it. 5 years later, Y person is now being like burned at the stake for liking a comment.
Right.
Not even saying it, just liking it.
Right. That's insane.
And it's just like,
but
it is what it is.
There are consequences.
Yeah. I will say this, and I
say a word
on the situation of, I hate people that try to say, well, that goes against free speech. No, it doesn't. All these people are saying anything they want to say, and they're not that. But just because you can say everything you want to say doesn't mean that there's not going to be repercussions.
Free speech comes at a cost.
Yes, that is one thing that you and I 100% agree on.
Yeah.
Really quick in closing, just because I think we've beaten this horse as much as we should for the time being.
Sure.
Where do you think social media goes from here? What's that next thing?
You hear about what they're doing in China, I believe it is, where there's like a social grading, like a social, right, and
based off. Well, from my understanding, it's very, very similar to the Black Mirror episode.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is true. I just heard of this.
No, it is true.
Okay. That you have a social rating and how you treat people and how things, and like you get denied for, I don't know if they even own private property there or whatnot, but you'll get denied for certain things.
Come back when we have our episode on China
and communism.
Oh,
but yeah, you have a certain status and you'll get denied services and entry to public transportation, which then you have
certain restaurants
based upon your social media status. So if you're mean to people, or if people just want to gang up against you because they don't like you, because you said something controversial or unpopular.
Well, if you said something controversial about the government, they don't change your social media status except for the part where it says alive.
Perhaps. Could be. That's a great conspiracy theory, Mike.
Is. We have zero proof of whatsoever.
We don't know.
Exactly.
But, the sci-fi movies tell us certain things.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that could be, it's interesting to think that that's kind of what's happening with the workplace stuff that we're talking about.
No, I agree.
But just in a very unofficial way. Hey, we're America. We don't have anything official about this. But if you want to burn them down because they said this, we'll look this way, So maybe perhaps it goes in a direction like that. I would like to see it be used as somewhat of a commerce thing, like I said, where if there's going to be ad exchange, or you can pay someone directly for an ad, but easy, right? Mm-hmm. Just like a button, you hit a button and you give them $1 or whatever it is, and for something likes can translate into money, perhaps,
right.
Or a digital currency or something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. That'd be a cool, I guess, thought process. I'm like, well, how can you do that and maximize time on those networks for a particular social media platform? I think that could be a cool next step. I don't know. Yeah. Even if it's not physical money, but like things that you can then redeem
Vouchers.
for something else or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
It's probably happening already.
I also will utilize something that's based off China, which is really funny.
China.
Have you heard of WeChat?
Who's we? We who?
WE
Ah,
chat.
no.
Cool. So WeChat is basically what almost the entirety of China runs on.
Okay.
It is their main social media website. It is their main banking website. It is their main gaming website. It is their main, by the way, I'm going to say every single thing that a society needs to survive website, or I should say app instead of website.
Okay.
So all of it is combined into a singular thing.
Like how PayPal was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like, well, this has already been shut down here. Elon wanted to make something X.
Yeah, because he did PayPal, like started.
Yeah.
that,
No, I
and,
know.
like,
Yeah.
He was supposed to grow into something like
Right.
what you're describing. Yeah.
It's one of those things. I just watched a documentary on this particular thing. The company that owns them. Oh my gosh, is it interesting? You'd love it. But anyway, I do think that is going to be the future, where more and more apps that do completely different things are going to integrate to make our lives more simplistic.
Right.
Because of all that information.
The only problem with America and that is just what you said is the monopolies and that kind of thing, and they will,
which are good.
Right.
It's just that,
but it's not convenient, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
But I think that's pretty much all we got to say for now on social media. I'm sure we'll think of new stuff later that we will integrate into other episodes as we get frustrated about stuff.
Maybe we'll post it on social media.
Nope, we won't. But thanks for listening to the Venti Questions podcast. We hope that you enjoyed our conversation today on social media.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
And if you enjoyed how we thought about this, you're going to love what we talk about next time, which is space.
Has nothing to do with it.
The final frontier.
Wow.
Hey.
Are you allowed to say that? I don't know if you're allowed to say that.
I mean, there's no TM, so I think we're good.
On a galaxy far, far away.
But it wasn't a long, long time ago. It's a long, long time away.
No.
It's slightly different, just enough. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, yeah.
See?
Uh-huh.
But if you want to help support the podcast, make sure that you're telling everybody that you know about this weird podcast that you found online. If you're listening to our wonderful voices and that is all, you're missing out. But we would appreciate if you went ahead and gave us a review of 5 stars, not 4, 5. That's the one that looks like this. But you're also listening to us, so you didn't see that. Oh!
He wiggled his fingers.
It was all 5 of them. And then if you are lucky enough to be able to watch us on YouTube, you're sure to find some other fun stuff on here as well. Some of our
Green
discussions have been up there. And we got some more coming out, as well as some other programming in the medium future.
Sure.
Not near, maybe medium.
We're going to make things happen, man.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Then also all of our social media sites that we never touch are going to be things similar to, like, I don't know, Twitter at Venti_questions, or, you know, TikTok at Venti Questions, or
posting like our YouTube videos to these things, huh?
It's just so much work because so many of these places now don't like it when you embed other social media things into those. It's such a who knows who.
Anyway,
but the biggest thing I would say is that right now the easiest way to get us to immediately comment back to you is if you post a comment on one of our YouTube videos over at youtube.com/@VentiQuestion.
Yeah.
That's all of the stuff that I'm required to say. And so that's all I got.
See more of this. See more of this on YouTube. This guy.
Yeah.